Hi everybody. So today's NUDE news is featuring Jessie, my beautiful partner, and we are going to talk about polyamory today.
Why?
Because we believe in, well, pretty much anything that goes against the norm. Anything that has involved any kind of conditioning, and even though the term polyamory is the term that we use, I personally and Jessie doesn't feel defined by it's like, oh, I'm polyamorous, so that means I have to have lots of partners. No, it just means that I don't have to just have one. I can share my love when it feels healthy and right for me, and I choose partners that celebrate that in me.
That's so beautiful. And I choose to use the word polyamory because I understand that love times love equals love, to borrow a term from a wise friend. And that I've had really beautiful experiences when I've been celebrated by my partners and supported in everything, including my intimate connections with someone I've met that isn't them, which includes friends, family, lovers, anybody.
I love that. Yeah, I feel like it's really important to question how conditioned we've been in our relationships, and that's what I've been doing for a really long time, and questioning what love actually means to me, and why, if it's shared elsewhere, why it's so taboo or it's so frowned upon, and how that feels so fear-based and fear-driven. So for me, that's been a really big journey of a part of what I do in questioning what I've been taught by society. And
fear can drive a lot of our decisions, but to be really in touch and checking in with our own individual values and desires ends up meaning that you're going to be putting yourself into a connection that is true to what you want. And even as I've been exploring alternative and polyamorous relationships, there have been times where I've had a fear come up, have something like jealousy or some kind of insecurity arise in my body, and I've had to decide whether that was, based off of, I'm comparing myself to, another male-bodied person in a relationship via a friendship that I have, or seeing a relationship in a movie, or seeing it in someone else in my family, and comparing myself to them, and realizing that anytime you're comparing yourself, it's kind of the same effect as conditioning. It's like, it doesn't matter how it's been done, it doesn't matter how others do it, it just matters what you want, when and how, and whatever.
yeah, so we're going to go through a few different points there. We've got them written down. We really want to shine the light on the shadow of polyamory, the shadow of monogamy, and then also speak to the beautiful aspects of both different types of relating, and just be as real and open and vulnerable as we can with you, especially those people who are wanting to explore polyamory or already are but would like further support or resources. So that's kind of what's inspiring us.
Yeah, because everybody who explores non-monogamy has to start somewhere, and there's no model for it in movies, in television, in advertising. It's like, how do you do it? Where do you start? You have to just guess and hit or miss and keep making the same mistakes others have made for thousands of years, or can we talk to people like us who have experienced it, and we've had good moments and bad moments? So yeah, please use us as wisdom that have made our own fuck-ups, and hopefully you don't have to make as many as we did, or at least we won't be making the same ones as we share in our community and help this knowledge spread.
Yeah, and I feel like it's really important too for those of you that are potentially connecting with other people who are polyamorous, and it's you're feeling a lot of confusion over it, and and wanting to understand, like, maybe you're not feeling it, that is something that's natural to you, but you want to still understand why it is to a partner or a family member or a friend, just to see that there are multiple ways of relating and that they're all okay. Yeah, so what should we start with? I feel like we can start with anything on this list.
Let's start with, I like what we wrote about, like, meeting each other's partners.
Mm-hmm.
And this would also be relevant to if it's your first polyamorous relationship, your first partner might already have another partner.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be super intimidating. And so what can we do when we meet other partners and when we introduce our partners to somebody else? And what are the expectations? What are our hopes and desires?
That's a really beautiful place to start, I feel. And it kind of ties into the difference between an open relationship and a polyamorous relationship.
Absolutely.
It's like open relationship, you might not be really introducing partners, you might be, or they might not be partners, it might be that they're just lovers that you meet outside of the relationship that's open. Maybe you'll be intimate together, maybe not, but it's kind of like you're in a relationship and you're open to connecting with others. This is kind of how we've defined it, whereas polyamory, there's going to be multiple love affairs between different people and potentially longer term connections that are you may have multiple partnerships that are equally valid to you, and so if that's the case, then there's going to be a time where you're going to introduce one partner to another partner. Maybe not, but ideally for me and for Jessie, that is kind of the way that we would want to work. So yeah, would you like to share?
Sure. Yeah, also I loved that you used the term love affair affectionately. I've never heard it positive. But it's an affair, it's an affair of love. So when having multiple partners, it's really fun and fantastic if we celebrate our partners and support them in any way possible. And so if I'm introducing two of my partners to each other, I have an understanding that, first of all, I already know if they're going to get along, most likely. I might be wrong, but my intuition and my judgment will tell me that they will love each other. And that's kind of how when I meet new partners, I'm keeping that in mind. I'm looking for people who are compatible, because I would prefer for my partnerships to all be mutually compatible. Some people don't feel that necessary, or they're not interested in that. In fact, they want separation. They want different tribes to be able to explore within, as I like to build one. So if we're going to be meeting and hanging out at the beach, even if my intuition could be wrong and they may not be best friends, and that's fine. I just I expect them both to be cordial, loving, open heart, open mind, supportive
of the other relationship.
And if they're best friends, that's awesome. If they become intimate, that's fantastic. And if not, that's also completely fine too. I'm not going to try to force something that's not there, and I wouldn't want anyone to force something with me either.
Mm-hmm.
But just by keeping that open and allowing for the possibility, you might create more love. Whereas if you are anxious about your partner's meeting, you might be potentially stopping a connection that could happen.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Jessie and I talked about, even if, for me, if I'm going to feel uncomfortable or hurt or however I'm going to feel, I'm going to put that aside, because I know that that's my stuff that I want to work through. What's actually important is our connection, is our support for each other, and I would put that as my hurt or uncomfortableness. If I'm going to feel uncomfortable aside to meet somebody that is lucky enough to spend time with Jesse, that I would trust Jesse's judgment in whether or not we click, whether or not there's a spark, whether or not there's, you know, a mutual interest. I don't care. I'm still going to love them. I'm still going to have my heart open to them. I'm still going to be open to whatever that connection is going to be, and be there for them if they want to talk. And if I'm being treated with respect, of course I'm going to do the same, and only want the best for both of the, you know, both Jesse and whoever is involved, or whoever are involved. So yeah, I feel like that's, you know, to have that conversation with ourselves is really important, to, you know, really own the fact, yeah, maybe there's going to be a time where I'm going to feel uncomfortable, but that isn't going to dictate how I treat other people, how I treat somebody that cares about Jesse and that Jesse cares about. You know, once you kind of set that self up for you, you've got that strength to draw upon. Whereas if you kind of go in blind, like, oh, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to feel, etc. You're not going to be as have that foundation there to draw upon and be as empowered in the process.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, the way you explain it, and our imaginations can do so many beautiful, wild things, and sometimes we can be in our heads and create fears or fantasies, and then often when you meet a partner, it can be so relieving. It's like, oh, they're just a person. Or like the idea of like maybe insecurity from competition. It's like when you realize that it's not another identical copy of you that you have to that's slightly better than you. It's like, no, they're totally different. They're a musician, but you're a chef. Like, it's like they're not going to be the same
equally
person.
valid and lovable in our own ways. And just because that they're loved by the same person that loves you doesn't mean that you're loved any less. It's like if your partner has 12 siblings and loves them all equally, it doesn't mean they're going to love you any less because there are more people that they love. I love, you know, in the beginning that you said love times love equals love. Just really, you know, that's a terrifying thought. We talked about before how, like, because there's no, a lot of the time when we're going into relating differently and there's no kind of blueprint to work from, then the fear of the unknown dictates our experience, and we don't realize that we can go into an experience and come out of it alive and better than we were before. But it's just that taking that first step and seeing, oh wow, actually, this is really beautiful and doesn't take away from my experience. I'm not losing anything. If anything, I'm gaining.
Yeah. And a benefit, a plus side of not having any blueprint is that it can be whatever you want. And it's going to be different with every person as well. Like, the way that Kristen and I have talked about how we are interested in sharing stories about our other intimate connections is different than with my last partner. And it's going to be different with everybody. And there's no rules on how you have to behave.
Yeah.
The only rule is the one that you decide together.
Totally. And it's so beautiful that, like, in that each person can be supported in without judgment of what is needed to take care of their heart. You know, it's like, okay, cool, I can be free to express myself with others however I want, but the way I express that to you, you're not going to judge me for the fact that, you know, I need it to be in this way. I'm not going to control you and your actions, but the way it affects me needs to be done in this way that looks after my heart, and to be able to respect that and you know, and do that for your partner is a beautiful thing, and show love in that way.
It's a super beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so hard to know that about yourself if you feel that, like, that whole thing about being able to share and not feel judged. It's really hard. It can be so scary to do that because we can be projecting our own understandings and conditions onto others and judge them for it. But it's like, how can I judge you based off of a condition I have or a bias I have about polyamory when there's no real normal way to do it anyways? So it's almost just
it's so individual. Love is individual.
Yeah.
connecting as individual, sharing, and our triggers and traumas are all individual. And yeah, it's so beautiful to be able to explore that with a partner without being judged.
Yeah, and then like, if you do end up returning to a time where you feel that monogamy is feeling right for you, it's like, it isn't this work you've done, and this isn't ever lost. You know, understanding how you need your heart to be held and loved is valuable information for you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it cultivates so much emotional intelligence I feel in relationships in general, but especially when stepping into something that's unknown territory and where you're learning every step of the way. It takes emotional intelligence to be able to relate healthily, and only by being in relationships can we do that. So yeah, it's not ever lost.
No.
That's such a good point. Cool. So what else could we talk about from the Ruby points?
Let's talk about maybe transition into some time management briefly with, you have all these partners that now you've introduced each other to, and everybody's happy, but you have 7 partners and 4 older brothers, and you're in school and you work, and you've got a lot of things going on. How do you manage that time without hurting others or yourself?
Yeah, I love when you shared with me a previous partner, how she had like a time management, like a Google Docs or something, a Google Calendar.
Yeah, and then she, which was really transparent, anyone could check out what was going on, and if there was free time, there was free time. And this person doesn't have to be repeatedly asked to share their time.
I repeatedly deny, and yeah, it's so powerful. I love that so much.
Something else they did, which I appreciated, was they had a Facebook Messenger group where they would update their physically intimate partners with what's going on with their health. If they had a UTI, if they had anything going on, they could just write it once and everybody would know. And that was also really cool.
I love that.
Technique.
Yeah, I really love that. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Smart person.
Super smart, super fun to be in that group.
Cool. Yeah, so it's an important aspect. Find a way to manage your time. Time is finite and valuable and precious, and I would say one of the shadows of could be one of the shadows of polyamory being that time is being divided between more than 2 people. It's getting thinned out the more partners that you have. So time management is definitely an important factor.
Yeah, I know you shared a really enlightening story about your past relationship and how the time management affected you emotionally, and how you dealt with it.
I had 2 partners, and I was their only partner. So they had a lot of free time, and it was quite hard on me because I'm an introvert. I love time alone. I love self-care days and dancing, and I have a lot of projects and hobbies. So it was really important for me and my mental health to kind of communicate with them, like, this is when I dance, this is when I sing, this is when I rest, this is when I have time to spend with you. And it still didn't work out so well because I live in Bali, and I'm maybe one of the only people that has like a full calendar all to myself. So it didn't work out in a way, but it did help to see if it would work or not, like if I could have those partnerships or not, if I'd have just been going through it blindly and, you know, checking in each week, or actually, like, can we do this, or can we do that, or can we do this, and me constantly saying no. You know, I was like, actually, this is what I'm available for. if that's not okay with you, then this isn't going to work. And it turned out that it didn't, and I'm happy that, you know, I was able to see sooner through some time management.
Yeah. And other times you might not have very much time for a partner, and they might be okay with it. You know, which is why communication and transparency is so cool, because we don't have to make assumptions and, you know, assume, oh, I can only see them once every 3 weeks, so therefore
Maybe
I
they
should
don't.
I should just say goodbye to them, and, you know, maybe let them know, hey, I can only see you once every 3 weeks, and they could say, no, thank you, I'll move on, or fantastic, I can't wait for our next date.
Perfect. That's such a great point.
And so I've had that myself work well, and then I've also had a relationship where the time became also a bit troubling, where when we first met, I was getting complete celebration from them for all of my dates that I was going on with other humans, and they were so supportive, and then they started to have to spend more time at work, and their hours increased, so they had less and less time for socializing. And I started to sense, and resentment was kind of communicated towards me for me going on all these dates. And it was confusing because I thought we had this understanding of non-monogamy being a celebratory component of our connection. Only later did I realize that, you know, I felt that they were trying to kind of share the responsibility of their time management with me. Like, they weren't managing their time well enough so that they didn't have the time to have the same type of polyamorous experiences I were having, which is not to say that there's any inherent problem in being polyamorous and not going on lots of dates, but they were almost being jealous of, not of my polyamory, but of my free time. So getting those confused is another shadow of polyamory. Is really what they needed to do was to manage their time better. Perhaps they could have done it by, you know, spending less time scrolling on their phone, or like meal prepping on Sundays and not cooking every single night. Like, there are other things we can do and really be critical of our own time, instead of just kind of guilting others for our areas where we're trying to grow.
Yeah, especially if, you know, you've had that agreement in the beginning, this is going to be a non-monogamous relationship, and then to use that against you, it's like, what's going on here? It feels like, you know, it's dipping into society's stigma surrounding polyamory and being like, oh, well, like, you shouldn't be doing this, like, it's a bad thing, when it's like, no, didn't we both agree that this is how we like to love and to be loved? And how about we look at all the other reasons why you don't have enough time for you or other lovers, and address those before, you know, projecting that onto me and making what I'm doing wrong. Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
well said. So we're kind of on the shadows of polyamory. So I feel like it's huge, the stigma of the label, of, like, there's so much slut shaming in our culture that it's weird. You would think in this world of slut shaming, if your response is, hey, look, I'm not just being slutty, I'm actually dating all of them, I love all of them, that should make it better, in my opinion, but some people, it might even make it worse. It's like they're so angry that you're sharing your love.
I mean, it's going directly against everything we've been taught about love, directly against the Bible, directly against so many generations of monogamy, you know, which came about through, from my understanding, husbandry and, you know, getting property, and it takes a lot to undo that kind of conditioning. And so, of course, you know, it's like when you first see something that's different, we have a reaction to it, but then it doesn't take very long to adapt. I feel Western society is still kind of in the phase of getting slapped in the face and somewhat adapting. And so I've felt pretty intense judgment in the past from sharing that I don't feel monogamy is natural for me, is maybe it's normal for me in the society that I come from, but it doesn't feel natural. I've felt even shame about sharing it to certain people that I don't want to judge me. Some people I don't really give a fuck if they judge me, most people, but there are certain people that I have been like, oh fuck, like they're gonna not see me anymore, and that's a shame because I really like them and I want them to still see me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I remember we were talking a few days before about how when you tell someone that you're polyamorous, that they might get so they might see that like alarm goes off in their head, and then they stop seeing you. And it's like that's why it's almost we don't want to disclose this label because
Get pigeonholed,
which is never any fun.
Totally.
And I feel like often with anything that there's stigma, there's also there's doubt. You know, people doubt that it's genuine. They're trying to justify it some way, or you know, belittle us or make us, you know, the whole like saying it's just a phase. Like when I tell people I'm polyamorous, they think, okay, well, you know, you're young and sexually promiscuous now, but someday you're gonna settle down with one monogamous partner. And it's like, you know, I've met older couples that are married with children and completely openly polyamorous and sexually fluid and all these things.
Oh yeah, there's this beautiful story that I've listened to, and I've watched the same guy talk on a couple of different platforms, and he said like he's been in his relationship for 24 years, 20 of those they were in a polyamorous relationship. The last 4 years have been monogamous, and during that time his friends have been like, oh, I don't know how you're polyamorous, like but they've had 4 marriages in that time. It's like he's like, well, you were more committed to monogamy than your partner, like than the actual love itself. It's like I just love that, like, you know, that's beautiful, like to think, you know, 24 years, 20 of them open polyamorous, and then 4 years like, okay, they've decided whatever their decision is, who cares. It's just, it's a really beautiful demonstration of how we kind of would prefer to commit to an idea than to the love.
Wow, that's such a powerful thought. It's
so
kind
beautiful.
Of wow.
Go back to the shadows. We're focusing on good things.
Sorry, we like it.
Sorry.
Shadow, I mean, like...
So that was the stigma we're kind of going with.
Stigma, yeah. Another word, very triggering word, jealousy.
That's such a triggering word, isn't it? It's like, oh, I can be anything, but if I'm jealous, I'm a failure.
Yeah.
You know, like, I felt that when I was younger. It's like, oh, are you jealous? It's like, no, it's not that I'm jealous. Like, it's like, fuck yeah, I'm jealous. It's okay. I'm jealous. Doesn't define me. It's not the end of the world. Doesn't mean I'm not a beautiful person. Like, sometimes I feel jealousy and it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, it's not a wise decision to suppress any feeling from yourself or from sharing with others. Like, you know, like...
It's gonna be there.
You know, in the past when I was sad, I would try to push it down and just feel happier, and that wasn't a better way. It was just like, embrace the sadness, embrace the jealousy, whatever's happening in your body is happening for a reason, and you can usually, by holding space for that feeling, you can usually heal it, or like feel comfortable with it. Yeah, like, I know what will make me jealous, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Totally. It's like, I feel like it's such a disservice to ourselves and to our partner to suppress the jealousy and then instead find ways to make yourself feel comfortable, that isn't addressing the actual issue. So it's like, say you feel jealous of a partner, and it's your thing that's going on, like you've got insecurities happening, but then instead you vilify the partner, or find another way to make yourself feel comfortable, rather than just being like, hey, like I'm feeling jealous, I'm feeling insecure, like these things are going to help me to feel better, they're going to validate me and my experience. It's transmuted like that. Like, communication is so powerful, and the stories and the narration that our mind comes up with, half the time you can't make sense of what the mind comes up with. Why would we start believing the things that start making us feel really shitty?
Yeah. And then you can also be like, if you're passively jealous and just silent, it's going to just brood and feel worse and worse. But being active about it as well, and like changing, owning it, and like I've been jealous of a partner developing feelings for somebody else in front of my eyes, and that person they're developing feelings for was also a good friend of mine, and I was seeing this I was feeling very jealous, and I chose to communicate that with the two of them, and kind of like found a nice solution that the three of us all came together and shared our feelings and shared like our love for all of each other, instead of me being passively jealous and saying, oh, I'm upset, sitting on the sideline and getting more upset. It's like, when you remove yourself, you're almost making it worse. If the issue is that you're not getting attention by vilifying someone, they're not going to give you more attention. The like understanding what
What's
you
actually
need.
happening? Why are you feeling the way you're feeling?
Yeah.
It's the inner child being like, ouch, someone give me a bit of love, and rather than also vilifying ourselves for feeling jealous.
Yeah.
It's like, be okay with it, like, okay, it's okay, like I've got you, I can hold space for you, so can my partner, and naming it, bringing the light to it, that can't really survive very long.
Yeah. And then with that, we also can let our partners know that if a certain behavior they've done has made us feel jealous, especially if we know that it's something that may come up again, we can also kind of prevent unnecessary moments like these.
Totally, it's beautiful.
Like, I was at one point sharing with one of my partners about somebody I had met at a cafe, and was excited about them, and I brought them up again and again and again, because I was excited about them, but that that excitement wasn't directed at the partner that I'm speaking to. Like, this abstract cafe being means something to me, but not to my primary partner, and so but I wasn't aware of this, like I wasn't really thinking that way. And then they said, hey, when you share this story about how you met this person, and you've shared the same story on more than one occasion, the first time I heard it, it was fun, it was exciting, I supported you, but now when I'm hearing about it, it's like, this isn't praise for me, this isn't love for me, like, I don't want to really hear the story again. And it was like, oh, it was so easy once I understood that, because then now I know that to be aware of something like that.
Like, do things like that.
And I had a partner in the past who would have loved to hear the same story over and over again. And now I have one who doesn't. And it's like, that's why every relationship is different. And it's going to change, and you need to check in. And if your partner's, if you're on the same page and your relationship is going smoothly, and suddenly something triggers you and makes you jealous, and it wouldn't have a month ago, you need to have a established understanding that.
And it can just keep change. Going, it's like, maybe today it's a big problem, and maybe next week that person doesn't care, especially if you're connecting with female-bodied people. Might be in the premenstrual phase, this is a big issue, and then the next couple of weeks it's not even an issue. And like, being open to the dynamic aspects of relating, and that's in polyamory and monogamy, like, female-bodied people constantly changing. We're like the ocean, and you know that can terrify partners sometimes if they don't understand that. But yeah, being open to it constantly changing, or like that, but that didn't make you feel uncomfortable last time, or with a different partner, it's like, yeah, but with this partner I feel this way. So yeah, just I feel like that's another really important aspect of like just being open to change and nothing being set in stone.
Absolutely.
What are the other shadows we've got? Yeah, well, we already talked about the fact there's no blueprint, there's no model to go from, there's a lot of trial and error, which I guess also comes back to the fact that being open to a dynamic relationship, things changing and things maybe hurting in one instance and then not in another. We don't have movies, we don't have parents, maybe you do, but it's not the norm to have role models to show us how to relate and love in this way that isn't monogamy.
It really keeps you on your toes, doesn't it?
Yeah, keeps you on your toes. And for me, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
For me, comfort is death. And even in a monogamous relationship, I don't want to be comfy. I want to find the edge. I want to have fun and adventure and explore. And I don't know, maybe when I'm older and tireder, I'll want to be comfy. But
you'll be meditating on a mountain.
Yeah, exactly.
So it won't really matter.
Won't really matter.
Yeah.
And then the stigma, jealousy. Yeah, we've kind of covered everything we've jotted down of the shadows, some of the shadows. So shall we talk about shadows of monogamy?
Sure. It's a fantastic idea.
Which I feel is going to show the pros of polyamory.
Yeah.
Some of them. So we've got written here the sense of security that comes with monogamy, I feel, is oftentimes why people want to be monogamous. And maybe this isn't a shadow, this is just an aspect of relating where, you know, I've had 3 engagements, and each time I was devastated when those relationships finished because I had this false sense of security, like, oh, we're in a monogamous, committed relationship, and I have all these plans of the future, what's going to happen with that person. And then it's like, oh, but now, you know, now if I'm polyamorous, and then it's like, oh, I don't have this like sense of security because they're talking or making love with or spending time with other people, and it's like nothing has actually changed. The sense of security that I get from monogamy is just as valid as the sense of security that I get from polyamory. For me, I potentially feel even more secure in polyamory than I do in monogamy, because I'm not putting all my expectations on one person, because I personally feel that it's natural for us to create experiences with other people more than just your primary partner, with more people than just one partner. And so for me, my understanding of love and connection, I feel more of a sense of security that I'm not going to fall apart if the relationship finishes, because I don't have this idea that it's forever and ever and it's one person. I'm definitely open to the idea that could happen, the forever and ever. I'm definitely open to the idea that I could be with this one person for a long time. But I also feel like I've talked to a lot of friends that have been like, yeah, but like if they don't commit to me and it's not just me, then I'm not ever going to feel like I can be safe. And again, like it comes back to this idea of this false sense of security that I don't feel is grounded in reality that comes with monogamy.
Yeah.
How about you?
I know that if my safety needs to be in my own hands, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I feel like if I'm with 0, 1, or 1,000 partners, like my safety is my own responsibility. I think you shared some fantastic anecdotes about your friend who had, had 20 years of polyamorous relating with one person. and marriages within that, or like their friend had multiple marriages, fail within that, and as well as then you having multiple proposals and those failing, not turning out as expected, having an expectation for how the relationship will progress is a bad idea if, you know, because when something changes, you may be disappointed, whereas if you don't have an expectation, anything that arises is just new information to deal with. Whether it's good or bad is your decision.
Yeah, I love that. I in my last relationship, we spoke about, like, we chose each other every day until we didn't.
Yeah.
There was no expectation. We were mainly monogamous, and it was beautiful. It was like, oh, we're not together because we have to be together. Like, I choose you today, and that's beautiful. And if one day I choose you and you don't choose me, or vice versa, I'll support you because I love you and I want you to be happy.
Yeah.
I don't want to be with someone who doesn't choose me. And that security doesn't come with monogamy. That comes with, like you said, internally. It's, you know, it can seem like we're being too independent by being like, yeah, I've got my own back, it's fine. But I feel like interdependence is like, I've got my back and I've got yours, but I've still got mine.
Yeah.
And
definitely,
it's not going to be lost if you and I part ways. It may hurt, but at the end of the day, all I want is for you to be happy and for me to be happy. The end. However that looks.
Yeah, I really like to think about the difference between being independent and interdependent. And so.
Me too.
Yeah. And I was gonna say that I've also come across couples that are, you know, pretty much monogamous. They live in the same house even, but I've heard people say that, you know, reason they don't get married is the same, because they understand that they love each other today and probably tomorrow, probably the day after, but they don't know about it in 20 years. So they're like, hey, let's live together, let's share grocery bill, but let's not get married because don't really know where we're going to be later. And which is also really, it's a beautiful treatment of a connection, whether it be monogamous or polyamorous. It's like, just being present with where you are in your life and understand that you're not going to necessarily have the same dreams and routines in a week or in an hour. It's like things are always changing, and if someone loves you, even though it might be hard, if that new dream that they have takes them away from you because you'll miss them, you'll fucking miss them, and you'll still love them. But
and if you're not an asshole, they'll still love you.
Yeah.
So what's the problem?
Yeah.
There are like billions of people in the world. Find another one to hang out with.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Totally. There's probably someone closer to you anyways. You don't have to drive so far.
One that like doesn't do the annoying things that one did.
Yeah.
It's like we've got this skill of like making every scenario however shit it is okay. It's like, I think we just did that.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you know, if you've had a relationship before, if you've had more than one, you know that it sucks when it ends. Even if you're the one who ended it, it can still feel terrible. And you can cry and grieve, and that's healthy, and then eventually you are gonna love someone else again. In the moment when you're in the middle of a breakup, it's like, I'll never love again, they were the one. And then a year later, you're loving someone else.
Or like 3 weeks later in my case.
Yeah. So like, I think we're all so capable of loving more than one person, because unless you married the first partner you've ever met, you've done it too. We just do it at the same time because we're excited about connections. Yeah, it feels good.
Awesome. What's another shadow of monogamy?
I'd
love to talk about, like, I really, for me, the experience in monogamy, or my experience of observing it, has been like seeing relationships, I mean, this can happen in polyamory as well, but seeing relationships be like a crutch to our dependency on an external force, energetic force, to take away our pain. And I feel like in monogamy it's especially so because there's such a great deal of possession. So it's like, oh, you're my partner. If you hang out with anybody else, then my partner's gone, and my partner's feeling this big void in me that I haven't done my healing on to fill myself with myself. You know, whether it's alcohol, whether it's food, whether it's love, whether it's sex, drugs, you know, TV, porn, travel even. I know that I filled my hole with travel for a while. Whatever. Oh my God, there's so many flies in here. Whatever. And I've seen it time and time again, like the crutch be a relationship, and especially in monogamy, I've seen it be a crutch because, yeah, this person suddenly, it's not, I remember my mum used to say to me, she's like, relationships are like ownerships. Like, it's like you own this person now, and codependency ensues, and it's so intense, like the codependency that we can have in so many ways. And I mean, I still have it, monogamy, polyamory, in general, my codependency shows up, and more so in the way of like, I'm not codependent like I need my partner around. I'm more codependent if my partner's upset, I get upset. And you know, that can happen in any way, but codependency that happens in monogamous relationships, you know, it's like, well, there's only you two, so the codependency is going to breed and fester and become quite intense, and, you know, have all these expectations on this one person to fulfill this role, because if you're gone, what the fuck am I going to do? I've got nobody else. I don't have any other partners. I've kind of ditched my friends for my partner. I hang out with my partner all the time. I don't do my hobbies anymore. And yeah, there's like a lot can be said to the codependency that comes with monogamy.
Wow, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the codependency and the ownership are really, like, to me, intimidating components.
It's terrifying.
That have pushed me personally away from monogamy. And now that I've been more distant from it for a long time, when I go to invite a friend to hang out and they have to first ask their partner if it's okay, it's like, you know, you should know how your partner feels and be considerate of it, but like the fact that you have to like ask for permission, it's like, they have so much power over you in a way that like might strip you of your own voice, and it's important to keep your voice.
Totally.
There's absolutely nothing wrong. It's beautiful to consider somebody else's feelings when you make a decision, but to allow it to like really influence you is there's a distinction between being aware of how it'll affect someone and treading on, you know, every decision you make, considering how it'll affect them. It's like,
hopefully you have a partner that can be happy for whatever you want to do.
Yeah, hopefully you have that partner.
If you're in a monogamous relationship.
You deserve it.
Totally.
Because they're out there. Billions of people.
Billions of people.
Billions. And like, it'd be interesting to talk about also like the word soulmate as well, and like whether or not, like, people ask me like, oh, do you believe in a soulmate? Like, do you think there's such a thing? And I was once provided with an example, like a way to think about partners, and how if you kind of picture it like a pie chart, like my needs are a pie chart, and I have a need for physical intimacy. I have a hobby that I need someone to share with me. I have food that I want to eat with people. And like I have all of these needs, And I think a soulmate traditionally would fill that entire pie chart. Everything that they like, I like. It's like perfect overlap. But in reality, that's not the case. Like, I'll share, 50%. I think for me, what I would consider someone who is super special is someone who fulfills, half of that pie chart. That's like huge. Most of my friends are just a quarter of it or a sliver. And there can be overlap. So you could have one partner that, fills this half and another partner that fills that half. And there's that corner of overlap. And that's, I think, the jealous moment. It's like, okay, well, we both like to go swimming at the beach. And it's like, can we do it together? Hopefully. If not, there's a conversation to be had. But for every other spot where there is an overlap, I see no reason why I can't have more than one soulmate at the same time.
Oh, totally. For me, I feel like I've got soulmates in animals, in family, in partners, and there's just this deep connection where it's like, what is this? I also feel like I love what you said about like the pie chart and like the shadow of monogamy is expecting one person to fulfill all of these different aspects of ourselves. It feels so limiting. It feels like, okay, cool, so I can do all of these things and this person can do all these things maybe, or they're doing it for me, but how about all of the things that this person doesn't do or want to do or doesn't even know about? Like if you are into kink and your partner's not, bad luck, you've got a vanilla life for the rest of your life. That's kind of restricting your life experience. Or if you eat meat and your partner's vegan and you want to enjoy meat with the partner, then you can only do it with this one partner. It's only going to be vegan. I really love the 80-20 rule of like finding 20% of your satisfaction through a partner and the other 80% maybe through other partners, maybe through friends, family, like, but not looking to a partner to feel the whole pie chart.
Yeah, no one person should be more than 20%.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, and I agree with that completely, and it's tough because our society places restrictions on how we can act with our friends versus our partners. Because
Totally.
Maybe you get lucky and you have one partner, and yeah, they're vegan, but I'm allowed to go eat meat with my best friend. No one's gonna bat an eye at that. But what if my partner's not kinky? Well, if I want to be physically intimate and kinky with someone, well, all of a sudden that's cheating. It's like, well, for me, a partner and a friend, really, they're all the same thing to me. I see them as people that fill in some sliver of my pie chart.
I love that.
Sometimes we touch each other naked. Does that matter? Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, it becomes so literal and like...
If there's sex and intimacy involved.
Yeah.
Or love, which is a shame. I suck at monogamy. I cheated on most of my partners one way or another, somehow or another. And it's like, and so many times, so many sexual experiences I've said no to because I didn't want to hurt my partner. I'm not even with that partner anymore. And those sexual experiences I'm never going to have because I were in Brazil with this beautiful woman and she was so fucking gorgeous. And I was like, no, I don't want to hurt my partner. And it's like, really, like I denied myself a life experience because it would hurt my partner because I shared some like soft lips with somebody. Like, it doesn't make sense to me as a polyamorous person. Maybe as a monogamous, if monogamy felt really, really healthy for me, it would. And that's cool. But I feel like another shadow of monogamy is like you're controlling your partner's life's experiences. And just so you don't feel icky. And it's like, fuck, like that's a big thing to do. To ask your partner not to do anything with anybody else because it might make me feel uncomfortable.
That was really well said. Yeah,
Thank you.
The golden rule. I don't want anyone to make me feel icky. I don't want to make anyone else feel icky.
Yeah, I don't want to make anyone else feel icky either. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes someone else is going to feel icky even if I don't want to. And it's very different if that's because they've got their own thing going on, or if it's because I'm going against an agreement.
Yeah, or for some reason intentionally trying to make them feel icky from some kind of spite or vengeful, but it's like, it's not going to happen if you're a person that sees and feels with their heart. It's not going to happen. That's a lot of our list. Anything else you've thought of while we've been talking?
I did think of another thing to do with the shadow of monogamy, but yeah, actually, this is really important to me and my heart, is that experiences that I've had when friends of mine have gone into a monogamous relationship, and how I feel like I have to act differently with them because they have this little bond together, and I don't want to be too flirtatious or wear too like skimpy clothes or whatever this person, because suddenly like they've got their own thing going on now, and it's like, how the fuck is this love? Like, how is it love that I can't be me how I used to be with these people now just because they're together? Like, that feels really, it's like I'm super respectful and I do it, but at the same time I question, like, this doesn't feel like love, this feels like fear, this feels like it feels really uncomfortable to me.
Oh my God.
That feels like a shadow to me, that
totally,
you know. And I love my friends who aren't like that. Oh my God, I love being around a couple who, sure, they're monogamous, but I don't have to act any, like, you know, my friend's partner will touch me and hug me, and it's great for him. He gets to get contact from someone other than his girlfriend, you know, like, they're just open and loving and lovely, and I can be, you know, I'm not intentionally ever going to try and steal energy or attention or anything from anyone. I'm just going to be me and take it or leave it. It's fine. Like, I respect, you know, love. I respect monogamy. I respect agreements, and I'm never going to overstep them. But it's so cool if I can, like, just be myself and be loving and funny and flirtatious and myself with my friends, when a lot of the time it doesn't even mean anything, you know, like, I'm just fucking around. Yeah. Oh
my God, like, it's so, I definitely have experienced that, like, and it's so interesting when it's such an there's so many unspoken rules that we don't really know what's going on, and we're all conditioned to not talk about it. And it happened to me, like, I was going over every like week to a friend's house for like a movie night, and then, you know, we'd always be sitting, we kind of all had our favorite chair, it'd be us and a couple other friends. You know, we had such a routine, like, it was okay, they brought the popcorn, you know, I'd get the blanket from the downstairs bedroom, like, we all had it all figured out. And then the person who lived in the house, like the host, got a partner, and then it was like, well, are we allowed to snuggle with them anymore now? Or like, it just like it threw a wrench in our whole dynamic. And in my opinion, and like, it didn't need to, and I feel like if we had talked about it, we could have avoided it. Because, you know, I feel like as someone who is polyamorous and is known to be polyamorous, like, I have to tread lightly because
people think that you're trying to fuck their partner.
Yeah, so like, if I just snuggle with this person, my friend, that, like, it's more inappropriate because of who I am. Whereas if I were a monogamous person, they'd be like, oh, that's just an innocent snuggle. Whereas it's like, oh, like, we're dating now, you can't snuggle with me anymore. And like, maybe my friend will know that, but maybe their partner won't. Yeah. It's just like, I don't want to feel judged. It's like, really interesting. I want to just snuggle, and if your partner's not into that, then I question why this is happening. Yeah. But we probably could have just talked about it, and I could have said, hey, it's nice to meet you. Your partner and I often cuddle. Is that cool? Oh yeah, sure. It could have been, maybe. Could be. In my world. In a perfect world. Yeah, so like, again, communication could have avoided a lot of that tension. But I am like kind of into pushing boundaries and like Lisa, like living on the edge. So I was like, I'm just gonna lay down and sit next to them. And to me, that was like, it was fun, but also like, I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable either. So like, I'd rather avoid that.
And that's the thing. It's like we don't know other people's dynamic and their agreements and what's going on for them and their triggers and their wounds. So it's like, yeah, it's nice to push the boundaries, but I don't want to hurt anybody, and I don't need to. I've got so many people that.
Yeah, like I want to push my own boundaries, not anyone else's.
Yeah, totally.
So it's like that situation where it's like, you know, if I sat down on the sofa first and then they sit next to me, it's like it was their decision.
Yeah.
So that's fun for me. But if they've sat down and I'm the last one to take a spot in the movie room, it's like, can you just tell me what's appropriate, please?
Yeah, totally.
Because I don't know what's going on, and I just want to sit down.
Yeah.
I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Mm-hmm. But because I'm polyamorous, I'm a more risky human.
Yeah.
Which is just false. I'm so respectful.
So respectful. Yeah. I feel like, then another shadow of monogamy, I mean, it's just the fact that it's an unquestioned way of loving. It's just so strange that it's also the other thing that is expected to have 100% success rate. You know, as someone who's cheated, it's like, oh, I fucked up once and that was brought up against me so many times. I can't even explain. It's like, but I'm so loving and amazing in so many ways, and I kissed someone else, or I had sex with somebody else, or I did it maybe twice or with two different people. Like, I owned it. I told you, I was honest. It wasn't cool. Like, doesn't really happen anymore, but I have had this thing where if I had a partner and someone else would touch me, I would be paralyzed with pleasure, and I would just like go limp in the most amazing blissful state. And you know, it's one of the reasons why I started studying sexuality, because I was like, fuck, I'm fucking up my partners, it's really hurtful. But at the same time, like, I would, you know, sometimes it would happen once in that relationship, never happen again, but it would be brought up against me, and it was like, fuck, like, we can crash cars multiple times, we can, you know, fail tests, we can do so many things, but monogamy, you're expected to be fucking 100% successful at it, even though studies show that it's not a natural phenomenon. It's not something that we are naturally created to be. It's a social construct, and it goes against my nature. My anatomy type is an antelope woman, which is somebody who loves getting attention from multiple lovers and partners. It goes directly against the way that I am. Like, I'm a free spirit. And so I think that's another shadow, like expecting to be 100% successful at it, and the fact that it's not questioned. You know, it's like, like religion has told us that we are monogamous, so guess what, we are.
And our government cuts us tax breaks if we sign a marriage contract. Like, there's a lot of external pressure to pair us up, one and one. And there's even rewards, you know, with the taxes. It's like, it's really difficult to break away from
totally
this model.
Totally. And I feel, especially in a female body, it's like, oh, you don't have a partner and you don't have a child, and you're going to be a spinster. Like, there's this stigma of the spinster. My beautiful sister-in-law has written all about it. I'm pretty sure she has a book on it, maybe, I don't know, but she has talked about it before, of like, the spinster, like the stigma of a spinster. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like, it's like cool if you're like an old bachelor dude or something. Like, it's cool that you like pulling different ladies, but
no one ever locked you down.
But it's like, oh, you're like it's like you're a failure if you if you even you don't have a partner, and it doesn't look like you're going to have one. Me in Bali, it's been like, oh, you're 33, no husband, no children. It's like, I'm loving it. Look. So I think that's another shadow. Like, it's creating more stigma around not being monogamous. What the fuck? That's just so messed up. What else? So you probably can tell why we're polyamorous already. That was one of our points here. I'd love to hear from you why you are, why you're not. Kind of shone the light on the positive sides of both aspects of polyamory and monogamy by showing the shadow. I think we've kind of covered everything.
Yeah, I think I had a few just like things pop up about the positive bits of polyamory and like those special moments that can only happen. And I mean those will just also be experienced by an individual who tries it. But since you haven't seen it in a movie, maybe we could talk about some really spectacular special moments.
Beautiful.
Also a really, I think like a paradox or an oxymoron about being polyamorous is like dating actually gets easier when you're polyamorous, because I find that once I met a partner who was like, oh, like, do you want more partners? I was like, not really, like, I'm fine. She's like, oh, well, you know, I bet you'd be perfect with this person. And it's like, because it's like, you know, our friends are good at setting up blind dates for us, whatever, but you know who's going to be better at that? Our lovers.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I've had lovers set me up on dates with other people because they know so many intimate details about me and my relations that I found that, like, it kind of feeds itself quite nicely. And so I've had, like, the best dating while dating people versus, you know, I wasn't dating with the goal of picking one. I was dating because I was just being introduced to more and more wonderful humans.
That's beautiful.
And I feel like there's also just one intimidating bit about polyamory if you get into the semantics and all of the nitty-gritty definitions. Like, some people who've been doing it for a long time might, you know, be using terms that I'd never heard of, like polycule, which is like a molecule. It's combined, so it's like a polycule is everyone dating. It's the word for everybody who's dating each other. And there's some other words that, like the partner of my partner could be my metamor, meaning they're my friend, I'm not dating them, but they're not a stranger. And at first all these words were really intimidating, and they still kind of are, but they're also kind of funny because it's like, there's just like, so like anytime you get into some culture or you learn more about something, there's always someone who's been doing it for longer and has made up words for it. And it's like fun and funny to learn all these silly words, but I end up not using any of them because I don't remember them, and it's like, what? But for me, that was another fun part about polyamory, was learning that I feel like there was a whole language to it that I didn't know existed, which just lets me know, it did legitimize it for me, where I was like, this isn't just some weird fetish I'm exploring, this is like a legitimate way of loving. There's a whole community that I had no idea existed. There's, you know, married couples with children, and they're still dating.
There's a little bit of a blueprint.
There's a little bit, but it's like, it's not publicized.
It's not until you're in it.
Because it's like taboo, and so you'll never, the access to that information is, you kind of gotta go underground a bit. Gotta get dirty. I don't know, do you want to share any special things about it for you?
For me, it's just feeling free. Like, it's a bit of an obsession of mine to feel free, and to feel free to love, and to experience love, and to experience my sensuality without, there have been times when I've made love with somebody, when I've been in a non-monogamous connection, and I've been like, oh fuck, like, did I fuck up? Oh no, actually this is fine, like, I'm allowed to do this, and I'm not going to hurt anyone, and I'm not going to be punished for it. Like, I'm free to explore a sensual connection with somebody that I can only have with them. I can't have this with anybody else, and I don't want to not have that. Like, I'm going to be dead in the ground soon, and if I can, maybe not, I don't know where I'll be dead, but maybe, but like, to be able to make the most of this experience in this body without it hurting anyone, but rather than it being understood and supported, and without, like, the change in the mindset of losing love by sharing love, I feel is a huge step in sovereignty, in the way we perceive life and love, and it starts eliminating that lack that's been heavily conditioned into us, like lack, like we need to consume, we need to own, we need to possess. For me, it's so beautiful, like that. The mindset for me is probably the most beautiful thing that I've experienced.
Yeah, wow, that was so beautifully phrased.
Thank you.
I really like, yeah, the mindset component is huge. It's like the moment you just see love as it is for what it is when it is, and you're not concerned for the lack, like will it be here in an hour? It's like it's here now. And then all of a sudden, when you stop making decisions to, try to assure more love in the future, you're inherently and naturally just gonna, by enjoying the love that you're in currently, you're gonna just create more of it, because people see that you're giving away love and receiving love freely, and people are, in my experience, are more willing to share love with someone like that than someone who's protective of it, or someone who's desperate for it. It's like, if you're like, yeah, I got so much love, you can have some, I've got a bunch for myself and for you. It's just like, cool. Like, if I see that, I'm like, oh, do you want some love too? I got some love. And like, we all just go crazy and just start like throwing our love around, and it's just, it's less fear driven and more like, if anything, abundance. Yeah. Having an abundance is, if we have an abundance of food and love and water, then we're living, in my opinion, my understanding, the best life we could while our souls are in this body. This body.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you all for letting me join.
Thank you for joining. It's such an honor. And yeah, interested to hear any feedback. I'll probably do a video on this again maybe in the future. Probably on some other things as well. Much love to you all.
Bye. Love you all.
Love you all. Ciao.